Hey everybody, I am Cinnamon Cooney. Nope,
It does that.
it's
Why?
been doing it lately. Hi, I'm Cinnamon Cooney. I'm your art Sherpa, and believe it or not, I teach art on YouTube. I'm going to be showing you today how to paint an iridescent hummingbird up close in acrylic paint, step by step, so you can create this at home. If you check the description below, there is a complete list of the materials that I have out on my table that I might be using during this project, and also a link to the website where there is a traceable if drawing is not your first passion yet. Because I know I'm going to get all of you drawing sooner or later, but if it's not there today yet, don't worry about it. Just go use the traceable. On the mic is my husband, John,
Hi, guys.
and he is going to be curating your questions and trying to make sure that I know how you guys are doing as you're painting along with me. And also because I'm not allowed to have the chat because I'll get totally distracted and then get up on a soapbox and then there's no art lesson. So that's what we've got. And we've already determined I can't get my curlers to go today.
Curating is such a strong word. I would say I'm more likely riding this rodeo of a chat and having a good time out here.
Right.
You guys, we love having you. We've already got almost 400 people here in the room. We just got
Thank
started.
you for showing up. It's been a crazy day.
Yeah, thank you guys. We love having you. This is so lovely. Thank
Yes.
you, thank you, thank you.
All right, let's talk about our materials. I'm using a smaller canvas today. This is a 9 by 12. A couple reasons we did that is there's a little more detail in this piece. And so that helps you guys not be so long on the canvas. And also because I know so many little brushes love hummingbirds. And when painting with kids, sometimes reducing canvas size really helps their art experience. On this board is a wish for healing for Anthony. If you're in the TheArtSherpa official group, you will have seen Anthony is a bit under the weather, and we're just wishing that he feels better and recovers and is home soon. Also, healing for Amber's baby, which is something I saw come up in the TheArtSherpa officials group, and we have a repost for a love storm going on that's not triggering. We have healing for Lisa, and then interestingly enough, Caitlin for more healing for coworkers and family and all of that. And then I'm going to just add this to a whole healing in heart, in spirit, in mind around the world. We all got to chill out and be mellow with each other.
And I forgot. There was one last wish that I forgot to ask you for the show. If you could put a wish in there for Tom and his daughter there for me real quick. We forgot to get that for the show. I forgot to ask you to do that.
I don't have any watercolor pencils, but yes, I can. Tom and his daughter? For?
Tom. And just best wishes for him and his daughter. I forgot to ask you for the show. But we
And they're secure too. Oh, and the one with Joey. Okay, is that the one from Joey? I don't know.
Nope.
Okay,
Different one.
I had one from Joey that I now realize maybe I got it. I don't know.
We'll get them in tomorrow. We have so many wishes, guys. Thank you. We love catching
If
all
I
these
ever
wishes.
miss a wish, I'm really sorry.
And as you can see, we love this process. We love capturing wishes. It's so important to us, and we thank all the wish keepers in our community who capture those wishes and put them on their canvas too.
All right, we're ready to look at how we're going to start this background.
Yep. You got some
So
colors.
I'm going to use this weird little kitchen sponge that I've cut in half. This is the most inexpensive little kitchen sponge that you can get. I have titanium white, I have Indian yellow, I have phthalo green, and burnt sienna. I'm just going to say right off the bat, if you don't have Indian yellow and all you have is cad yellow or Hansa yellow, don't worry about it. Those will be just fine, and you can use just the one yellow. I just like to have two so I can show out my iridescence.
Yes.
I'm going to sip my coffee and get my background in.
Oh, yeah. Now, this is so exciting. I love to see your sponge technique backgrounds because they go in
Yes.
so nicely, quickly.
I got my paint pucks in today, and
Oh,
hopefully
yeah.
it fixed down correctly.
Those have been pretty good.
We're testing them. We're finding out. The first thing that I'm going to want to do is sort of create a quick cover on the background, so to speak.
I'm going to
Okay.
move her up a little bit so you can see into the cup when you're dipping.
When I'm dipping, you can see I took a little green over into my yellow, and I'm making this sort of green color right here. And I'm going to add just a smidge of white to it. This is going to be like that first background, and then I'm going to get my glow.
You're just mixing?
Yeah, I'm just mixing right now. Oh, you're getting it. So you can see what I do in my cup. You can see it in there before I put the water in.
I wanted to actually see the mixing you were doing there on the edge. It just was a little off.
Yeah, so I'm just into my Indian yellow. You could be in your cad yellow. I'm just trying to make a base background that we're going to start with that's green. Like mine's even stripy. But the first thing that you're going to want to do is just cover your canvas.
And nothing like that big number 30 to cover.
Yeah. Right. And it's real fun because, like, sometimes people be like, if it takes you a half hour, it takes me 4. I'm like, well, I got a really big brush. Did you factor in the size of the brush?
Yeah, it's not quite a paint roller, but it's close.
Actually, I was going to, at Made It Con, I was going to actually show how a paint roller is very helpful. No, I mean, you got to go. You got to go. It doesn't really matter how you get paint on the canvas, right?
That's true.
It just has to get there. Now, am I going to be able to dry with my hair dryer?
No air conditioning on right now.
All right. So we're going to be doing, everybody really loved the rouging from yesterday, the rouging method to create a blended background.
Yes.
I've got this sort of really bright green underground, and I'm going to take this all into more of a yellow, and we're going to rouge it, and we're going to get this nice blended soft background behind our bird, and then we're going to put a quick branch and a little bird in. It'll be so fun. All right, let's rinse this little guy out. Well, I'll tell you right now, my big brush just pulls him right up off the bottom. Pulls him right up, but it did get the paint out, but it moved around.
And that was the wish for Jules Wilson that we got in there.
We did? Did we get Jules?
I think you could put it in there, a little pen there if you wanted.
All right,
I don't mind.
wish for Jules.
I just wanted to make sure you knew that was there. Because that was the one you said you wanted to make sure I got you.
Okay, all right.
But it's
I'll
thick.
put it in. It's in the paint, Jules.
Don't worry. We're good.
All right. I'm going to dry this with my hair dryer, and John is going to have a lovely chat with you guys. The reason I'm drying is for this next technique to work, you need to make sure that your undercoat is totally dry so that you're not lifting the paint up from underneath. Binding is going to be critical here.
I'll talk about that heat there too. All right, guys. So what she's talking about there is making sure that you get you use your hair dryer on the low heat setting, just the air, so that what you're doing is making sure that you just get that nice and dry, so that when you're painting the next subsequent layers, they don't lift up, and you don't have any mixing issues or things like that. So just your lowest heat setting, getting air to go over that really does a good job. Now, if you need any of the resources that you see up there, like that right there, our little picture-in-picture. If you want if you want the reference image or the traceable, you can find both of those up on our website, TheArtSherpa.com, and there should be a link in the description below where you can find that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to get some of the sizing out of my brush here. So I just reshaped everybody recently, and I have this crazy sizing that I put into it, which isn't really sizing. So I have to get it out before I start painting. All right, so I'm gonna pull a little of my yellow out, and I'm gonna get a little of my brown over here into my yellow. All right, so it's a bit of a kind of almost an orange with the burnt sienna and the yellow, and I'll pull some of this here so we have nice ranges. Pulling it away from its green, right? And we're just pulling this out because you want just a little bit, because there's some outer corners that are a bit tinted. And I still need this to be about the consistency of maybe a glaze. So I don't want too much coverage. I could do zinc here if I thought the titanium white was going to give me too much coverage. I just want some variance. And then I'm going to get my sponge. Now I have a couple mixes to work with. We have a light area kind of happening behind our bird, and then sort of a nice little framing, like a cameo frame around the outer edges. And this time, to do this, I'm going to just do what's called rouging, which is taking pigment and something like a sponge or cheesecloth, and you're going to be just kind of working the edges like you would just tinting it, as you can see with this color. See how it does?
You're kind of like vignetting.
It's like vinting.
Patine.
We're rouging it. We're taking a little bit of this pigment.
This is neat.
I might need some more pigment. You could be doing this with cadmium yellow. Don't not do it because you don't have a product. Don't hold yourself back. Don't put a whole bunch of conditions where you don't do something that you want to do that's right for you. Don't hold back because you don't have something right now in your hand. Okay, unless you're like mountain climbing, then yes, hold back if you don't have all the gear. Hold back, hold back. So see how we're just taking this brown around the edge? I got a little hair on here from somewhere, probably from the hair drying process. I'm going to pull that off.
Let me ask. On our scale of 1 to 3, we sometimes call those hoots.
Right.
What on our scale of 1 to 3, how difficult is this?
I'm guessing that he's going to be a high 2, low 3.
High 2, low 3.
Yeah, just because the iridescence requires putting paint in some very specific areas, but I'm going to really describe what I'm doing so that if you're at home, you know, as long as you're putting down the paint where I'm putting down the paint, you're still going to find yourself getting a good result.
Hmm.
So I'm just warming this up like you do. You can see the green is sort of coming through. And this rouging does a nice blend, doesn't it? This is something you guys like really struggle with, is this blending that I'm doing here. If your sponge gets dry, you can always take any kind of mister. I have this mister for my palette that doesn't do like fat raindrops. It does soft raindrops, and I like it. I'm going to get a little of the white where it's, you know, with my yellow on the sponge, as you can see. And I'm going to just come here and see if I can't lighten up the middle a bit. All right, with this color. Go back to the white if I need to. Pull some out. Oh, there we go, see? Now the damp sponge really lets me, if you were doing cheesecloth, this would work too. This is something oil painters really like to do. They will paint a very complex subject, and they'll do it on a very neutral background, and then after it's all done, they'll actually rouge.
The final rouge.
We've shown a lot of ways to get this sort of background effect.
You
And I
have.
feel like at one point we're going to find one where everyone's like, that's it, that's the one.
I like them all, though. They all have like different applicational usage.
I think sometimes, you know, we forget that we're not a one-size-fits-all species. Right? Not in clothes, not in thinking, not in painting techniques. It just takes a few different variables to see if we can't find our space. But you can see this is giving us a nice blended background. Look at how that's blending out. Isn't that lovely? It's really getting to where he was. It's that crazy yellow-green. When I saw that, I was like, I really love it, but that's a really hard to get kind of weird effect. I'm going to maybe take this up one more notch into a light value and ask how everybody is doing today.
Pretty good. They're really doing good. They were curious about your paint pucks.
So, I mean, on the big brushes, they seem to pull them up a bit, but it didn't lift up and it still got the paint out. I'm still kind of getting used to them. I like the idea of having something in there to pull out extra acrylic, because I think one of the things that can happen is that you don't get enough paint out of your brush, and that contaminates your next mix.
So you're thinking they're pretty neat.
I'm kind of okay with it, yeah. I'm just lightening this up a bit. You can see I'm just, I'm not pressing in real hard. Look, like I'm not going like that. I'm just
your hat got
dusting
me.
over the top.
Your hat got me there.
Oh, sorry.
That's right.
Is the hat's not good today?
No, just what it is. I brought the camera over a little bit, so it's just.
Oh, see, and like where I pressed real hard because I hadn't bound that underneath, you can see it kind of lifted.
Oh yeah, just
So
a touch.
pressure matters, man. That
Just
can
a-
happen, and I'm painting pro paint, and that still happened. Right? I'll make sure my sponge has got enough moisture on it to offload a little paint, because I do not have a little bowl with water here to like make sure that I've misted.
You scrubbed that paint right off.
Well, if you press really hard and it hasn't bound, it can. You know. All right. I might flip over and just enjoy rouging the outer edge again. Just making sure I've got a nice little space where things are kind of well framed. We got a branch there, so that's okay. You got that? Didn't that rouge out nice? Rougey,
Very
rougey,
much
rougey,
so.
rougey. I would do a cheesecloth, but that keeps getting used in our bandaging. My kids are adventure kids. We're always needing all the bandaging. All right. Okay. So here we go. We've got a little bit of a very blended, soft background. It's super out of focus. It is exactly the bane of everything that makes acrylic artists get real stressed. and we've nailed it. We're going to dry it, and then we're going to put I'm going to show you the traceable going on here, and then I'm going to show you a fast log and how to get this bird to be all iridescent.
All right. There we go. So if you need to find this or any of the materials, you can find those on the links in the description below. To the website for the traceable. I think I told you guys all that stuff that last time. That's I'm gonna make sure I got that in there. And yeah, thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us. You know, we love doing this. This is our favorite thing. If you know we've got lots of updates that are coming up. Man, we've got there she's back.
Am I back?
You're back. I was
I'm
gonna
back
tell them about
from
stuff,
outer space.
but
Sorry.
I'll tell them next time.
Okay, what?
I don't know. Like stuff we got coming up. We got Made It Come. We got Namto.
Oh my gosh, so much stuff coming up, right?
Yeah.
Now this is going to be a little challenging for me because it's a yellow transfer paper on a yellow background. I'm going to flip it over because I used it yesterday. I'm going to see if I can't get my tape to not be such an angry bunch of tape. Don't be angry, tape. Be unangry, tape. I've got the wonderful traceable I made for you guys here of this lovely, I think it's a ruby-throated. Am I correct?
What's
this
that?
type of hummingbird. They're all types, man.
Oh
I'm
my
not.
gosh, I
I like
don't
bird
know.
people know. Making sure this is well positioned, and then all I'm going to do is just trace over this very loosely with a sharp instrument that I press down on. Now, I'm not going to worry about all the little fiddly bits at my log because I'm going to do that all with brushwork.
I'm going to swing that camera around just a touch.
But I want to be able to show you guys how I do it. And so if you want to use the traceable, there is literally nothing wrong with that. Let's really hope this is working. Or I'm going to have to do graphite on the back and you're going to be like, oh wow, this really is live. Make sure I've got a nice little eye here. I gave you lots and lots of detail on the eye on the traceable so that you guys can put all that in case that's hard for you guys to get. I know it can be. And I'm going to give myself sort of a little log, and I know I've got some things coming down on my log that I've got to paint. Once he's painted, I can finish my log. It's a weird deal, but you got to get him in.
So Lisa would like to know
I
if we
can barely see him, but I can see him. Hi, Lisa. How are you doing?
So she would like to know if she's a new painter with us. Can we use iridescent medium?
Okay. So you can. Here's a couple tips about iridescent mediums. These are all the interference colors, the metallics, all of that. They work best, not actually mixed into the paint, in my opinion, but actually brushed in transparent glazes on top of a dark color.
Oh, neato burrito.
Now, and that will give you one kind of iridescence, but right now we're going to work on doing the kind where we paint what we see, which is a different type of iridescence.
Oh, that's right. That's the difference between painting metallic paint and painting something that looks metallic.
Mm-hmm. It is exactly the difference. Using metallic paint and painting metal effect. Two totally different things. Boy, I feel like I'm tongue-tied today. Anyone else feel like I'm tongue-tied? It's okay. I won't be upset.
No, sound perfectly normal to me.
This is so funny because all right. I had 3 different kinds of reds, and that's because I was concerned how I was going to get a color. I probably likely will be updating the listing. That was no good. Did you see I put that whole blunt and purple in there?
The community would like to wish you happy Holi.
Happy Holi, guys. How's it going? Well, colorful, right?
I imagine so.
Hard day to paint outside, right? Challenging day to paint outside. I imagine that. I have never been to India for Holi, and I have not been to a Holi festival in the United States. But I am really into the idea of it.
I would like to go too. This is a very colorful bird.
This is a very colorful bird. I think I'm going to see if I can get through without the alizarin crimson. I think I'm going to end up being real stuck on the cad, but we'll see where we get. Sometimes when I'm painting these, I will be like, is there a color I put in that I can somehow get by without? And if there is, I will just leave it out and adjust the materials list so you guys don't have to buy as much stuff. But if it isn't, then I will leave it in there. All right, these are round. I think I am going to use the CAD because it's going to give me this weird effect. Because you can see the difference between these two yellows. It's pretty big.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
Pretty big.
All right. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is block in the dark colors of our hummingbird. Because it is going to be in the pops of colors and a smidge of reflection that we're going to give the illusion of this gorgeous little dude being iridescent. I have been not washing brushes, and so I'm out of things. There's one. I am grabbing a number 4 cat's tongue, and I'm going to just come in here, and I'm going to start blocking him out. Now, I'm not going to use pure black. I'm actually going to use a mix of this burnt umber in black, because I found him not to be a totally jet black bird, except at his eye, which is you can either use the black and white that you have here, or you can use the trick of going to the fluid paints that are listed, which is this carbon black, and it's very deep and it's very shiny. It's a nice effect. It will not ruin the painting in any way if you don't have that. I'm just getting that mix. So see, I'm nice warm black.
Nice warm black.
Nice warm black. Right? And so the first thing is going to be just saying, hey, just one coat of black to say, hey, we're just going to get him all blacked in at first. And then we're going to go do some values. We're going to build up, right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to be all about the layers.
Always is.
When is it not, right? When is it not about layers? And this will help all the colors. Now, if you're painting basics, loft, a very economy paint, maybe some crazy paint that you found on Amazon, right? Something that you got off of Wish.
Crazy paint.
Some crazy paint that I don't know anything about their product info.
Yep.
But if you are, you may, when I start putting color in, you may find you need to pre-paint those areas with a white.
Well, let's call it unexplored paint.
Unexplored paint.
Because it may be perfectly
That is a good point, John.
Sane. It may not be crazy at all.
It may not be. I have not had that experience yet with the Amazon paint, but if you did, let me know.
You could totally have mundane paint. We don't know.
I'm going to come around his little beak area very gently because I want to keep that detail.
But you should test.
Definitely. I know I've got this light area at the top of the head. I'm not going to worry about the eye until we're like nearly done. I just want to paint all this in.
And this gives that depth for the color to work off of.
Yes. And we need it here. We need the warm black. We need the depth, or we're just not going to get where we're going. I'm going to mix the black. See, I pull some black into my brush, and I come over and I mix it into the brown. So like in your beginner journey, right? If you're first painting, all these mixes, the dry brushing, the rouging, all of it can feel like a lot. But, 10 one-hoop paintings in, you're like, wait, I got all these techniques. And then it doesn't feel like so much. So if ever you're painting something and you're like, wow, I feel like this rating is too low, or you're feeling like the rating is too high, it's really about the skill sets you've acquired along your journey, more than the painting itself. Because all paintings, here's the Kung Fu Panda of it. All paintings are really one painting. So see how I don't know if John can show this, but he's a streaky hot mess.
Yeah.
I point this out because sometimes you guys really judge your brush strokes. If you see the brush stroke in the paint, you want the coverage to be completely opaque, and you don't want to see any brush strokes. And I'm not even sure the camera is showing you as much as it. Just trust me, this thing has a lot of brush strokes.
Yeah, you can see the brush strokes. You can't see the contrast as strong on that screen, but you can see right there. There's really a lot of brush strokes.
Yeah, and I think that's just important to know. Like, hey guys, brush strokes happen.
Come see the imperfections in the painting.
Come see the imperfections in the painting.
But that's the beauty of it. They all disappear.
I'm going to take the top of the beak with a nice color here. And I'm going to have to probably highlight, but it just gives me a nice base to start from. Make sure that comes back. I'm going to come into my red here. So which CAD did I have listed in there? Was it CAD Light?
Let me go look. Show more.
Because
Cadmium yellow medium?
okay. Cadmium yellow medium and what CAD red? I put all the reds together.
Cadmium red light shade.
Okay, guys. So what I did is I accidentally put out CAD medium. That means that's what we're using today.
I should make adjustments in the script then, eh?
We're going to make adjustments, but I just wanted to let you know that I see that I altered here. And that's what happened.
Whoopsie.
And if you're coming up on the replay, you won't even see a problem because I'll have already fixed it.
Mm-hmm. This will all be a...
But you could use CAD red light. I'm just letting you know what I've got accurately on my piece so that you can duplicate these effects. I'm just brushing this out, right? I had a little boo-boo there. I'm going to clean it up. The paint hadn't dried and what was dry underneath it, so the fact that I overpainted is removable. That might not be something you know you could do. You might not know that. So now you do. Now I'm going to take just like a little brown and interestingly enough, a bit of this purple and a smidge of my white. I'm going to come on the top. And I'm going to color the top this color because he's got this crazy like purple top. I am not picking on mental health today. I meant more like in that Night at the Roxbury kind of sense. All right.
Mental health is something that we all enjoy.
Or trying to enjoy.
Or try to enjoy.
I'm trying to enjoy it every day.
It's something I think we all have to work at. I know I do.
Yeah.
It's like being healthy. You got to exercise. You got to work your brain out. Painting helps.
Painting does help.
This helps my mental health a lot.
So I'm getting a little of my black and I'm just making sure that I have a nice shape on my eye. And
now you're using that
number 4 cat's tongue.
Oh yeah, the color there. It's not quite black. But it's giving that the toning.
It's the brown. I want that warm brown. Now I'm going to do some value here, and then I'll start putting in the color. So I'm going to pull out the brown, and instead of lightening it with white, I'm going to lighten it with yellow a bit. You guys see that? How I'm lightening it with the yellow? Sometimes we go to white when really we need to go to yellow. And I'm going to just come right here. And you can see I'm sort of flicking off a little bit of what would be like a little bit of a hint of a feather. You see the little hint of the feather? I'm going to even grab a little of the CAD red in there and I'm just like, we're just hinting a little bit of those feathers are off here. And this is just almost like one shade lighter. It's not a big difference. All right. Now, if I need to raise the value with any kind of white, if you've been painting with me on the quest, you're pretty familiar with this. If you're brand new to it, I want to say this isn't that weird of a color, though. Sometimes it seems like it if you're new to paint, which is the zinc white. You can also buy products that are called mixing white, same thing, or tinting white in the craft. So you can get this product all the way from craft paint to pro paint. And it's in a lot of lines. I checked before I started using it on the show. So I'm going to take just a smidge of this zinc white. And you can see how it's different from titanium white because it lifts the color value a small amount without making it creamy and changing its whole mix. So I'm going to be just right here. Just a little bit of this sort of lighter feather. And I'm going to come to the top here and just a little bit over the top. See how we're doing?
Yeah.
Got to give this just a smidge. We don't want to go totally crazy. Maybe we do. I guess that's the word today. What is up with me?
You know, I don't think that there's any loaded connotation to it. So it's
no. I mean, it's just like
yeah.
It's just such a weird day for me, I have to say.
Do
you guys ever have weird days when you're at the easel going, huh? Now I'm flicking out the end here. Can you guys see this? You can do this with a filbert. You can do this with a round. You can do this with a bright. Any of the brush shapes will do this. You just want to make sure that your brush will give you a nice little flick there to talk about these feathers in that kind of way. If you need a dark feather, it's so easy to just come in and get your black and your brown and kind of mix some of those in, right? Feathering out. Like happen. And then over here, you know, it might be just a little bit darker all the way down. I'll give it a little bit of feather fluff and a nice second layer of value. Little black, little brown. There we go. There we go. Fun stuff. Rinse, 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 rinse. Now let's take the top of the head. If you have the brown and purple still going, you can absolutely go back into that. I'm going to add a little more purple. My trick with Diox purple is be careful with it. It's super saturated. You can see I'm using the zinc instead of the titanium white to lighten it a touch. And I'm going to be coming here and just doing this sort of little dash along his little head. So the stroke gives it a little texture, right? And then the paint is, I'm just trying to make sure. I'm going to adjust that one little line there. And look at that, I can take that right off. So never panic as long as the paint underneath is dry and your paint is wet, you should be able to get a little lightness. Now I can take a little of my titanium white now into that mix. You can see how it really lightens it up, right? But I'm gonna do something crazy. I'm gonna get a little Indian yellow in there. It grays it a bit. Can you guys see that? And
That's
I'm gonna come and just make sure that I put in here a little of this. Right here at the front of the beak, I'm going to definitely put this little highlight in. Right here. You guys see that? So we've got a little peek of that. I'm going to get right into, I'm going to avoid the one with the yellow. I'm going to get a little more purple going here. A little brown. I'm going to just add some of this right here. Just making these lovely, lovely little strokes. So that's looking pretty good. Do we have a nice purple top? We do. That's great. That's wonderful.
Yes.
It is actually really nice. It's super duper duper nice. So I've got my nice little burnt sienna right here, and I'm going to mix it with my burnt umber. Mix my two browns. All right, you can get a smidge of your black if you need it. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to make sure that I've got a little bit of this sort of rust feather. Right, can you see me putting in this texture? It's quite dark, but it's there and it's a little more orange. My feathers, I'm paying very close attention, guys, to the directionality of my feathers. Pay attention to the directionality of your feathers.
The direction of the feather.
Direction of the feathers. It's not actually particularly hard. It just might not be something that you would know to focus on. I'm not going to worry about keeping my eye perfect. I'm going to be putting that back in later. I'm just going to want to make sure that I have this interesting little base that is happening. Now, I've got this mix right on my brush. I'm going to get some of my Indian yellow. You could be using your CAD. If all you have is CAD, I'm going to get a smidge of my titanium white. And you can see how that's so much more coverage than the zinc. So you have got to be really careful. I'm going to put just a few dashes of this color, a couple of places, looking at the feathers and kind of mimicking that pattern. See, I'm just on the tip of the brush making these little dashes.
Yeah. That's great.
This is really, really doable. This kind of project, because of the iridescent effect to it, can seem so overwhelming. I might get a little more of my burnt sienna into some of these so they're not all exactly the same. Right, we're just having a few of them here and there. Just a few, because if you get too many, if you put too much in, you're going to lose the shine of the feather. It takes very little to push it over. Now I'm going to darken that inner corner. I'm going to take a little of my first color, and I'm going to make sure that we've got good coverage right here. But I'm going to use the brush stroke technique now that I was using for the feathers. And I'm going to put these strokes, even though they're subtle and they feel almost invisible, right here at this corner, in that same way. Say, up close on the painting, this will make a big difference. There's a couple more places that I've got some brown I've got to worry about and put that highlight in. And then everything I get to do after that is really fun because it's all the bright pops of color, which is what we all showed up for anyways, right?
Yeah.
So let's get these little feathers in. Back to the brown and umber. That you do. Brown and umber. Let's warm this up. See how we're doing?
Yeah.
Just a little bit along here. I'm really, really paying attention to the directionality. I'm going to get my little darker color here because right underneath here I'm going to make sure that this is pretty dark. And I am going to pay attention to the direction of the feathers. I'm going to bring this in a little bit even farther than I need it. So when I come putting the yellow, the different colors, and we're going to kind of exaggerate the red throat a little bit, just so you guys know, because I think that that's going to be really enjoyable for the bird lovers to have that be in greater focus. So it's the Indian yellow, the burnt sienna, and the burnt umber. And then we're going to come get just some more burnt sienna on here and, you know, right here at this outer edge with a little more brown. And then if I get my little black into that, I can make sure that this is that richer value. Now, letting this rest for a second, if I get my bigger brush, which in this case is going to be my 8 cat's tongue, I'm going to quick brush in this log that's got all the little moss and stuff, because later when I want to go put it in, I'm going to want to have an underpainting. I might as well take advantage of my time now. I'm going to use my brown and my black. I can put more brown out, but I just want a dark, dark underpainting for my log. All right. I'm just going to come across the bottom here. All of this is going to be a big log that he is sitting on. In a minute, I'm going to show you how to make some cool log texture and some cool moss texture. It's going to feel all mossy, but we want to have a nice dark color to build from. And that will make everything that comes after. So see how I've gone from this upper right corner and come down to the lower left? That's what I'm doing. That is what I'm doing. All right, I think we've got that base in. We could do the beak real quick, and then we can start putting in the vavooms.
Ooh, yeah.
The vavooms are going to be so fun.
This is so great.
Getting my nice cat's tongue back, I'm going to make the beak color, which I'm going to take just a little of my cad red, a little of my quinacridone. I'm going to get some of this brown into it, and I think that's right in there is going to give me my darkest beak color. I'm going to come underneath here.
Wow. Okay. So, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
From MWB Arts Mark.
Art Smart.
Our Mark.
Oh, hi.
Mark B.
Mark B. Just say Mark B.
So, he says there are over 300 species of hummingbirds, and this is the fiery-throated hummingbird.
Thank you, Mark B. I'm adding a little yellow cad yellow to my brush. Maybe Indian. I'm gonna get some zinc. There we go. I'm gonna come right underneath here with this highlight. Can you see the little highlight of his beak?
Yeah.
We're just coming right underneath it. A little bit of a highlight. Just a smidge. Yep, I want more than a smidge. If you do what I did, if you press too hard and you get more than a smidge, my 2 cents would be to take a little of your cad and your Indian yellow and just make a slightly brighter color and come right up between them. See how I'm doing?
Yeah.
That way we're really showing his little beak. And I'm just sort of wiggling my little brush here. I'm trying to make sure that when I make marks, I'm not making particularly one kind of mark over another. The other thing that I'm going to do to make this look sharp is I'm going to come in. Do you guys remember the background?
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a little of my Indian yellow and maybe even some zinc. Just the two of those together. If this coverage isn't good enough, I'll come back with some white. But I want to come along here and kind of clean up this line. If your line loses its sharpness, that's going to be an important thing to do. Get some just ink on my brush. I just wiped off and got some just ink. And I'm going to just make sure that this is blended out and blends into the background. You guys seeing how I'm doing that?
Yeah.
So when you're doing any kind of wildlife photography, not photography, painting, there are just certain things that you do when you're trying to really capture the animal. And this kind of stuff where you try to make sure that certain lines are super clean. If you need to, you get right into that titanium white, right?
Yeah.
And in yellow to get that opacity. Because
No,
you need a sharp line at the beak.
Yeah.
This is going to be big. Sharp line at the beak. And I lost mine. So this is how I'm going to put it back. Very carefully. There we go. Now he's got a nice highlight at the top of his beak. So I'm going to do a cool thing. I'm going to take a little of this out and a little of my phthalo blue. I'm going to get some titanium white. I'm going to make a very light color. And just very carefully brush this at the top. It's a light line. See, I made that line nice and thin. And then just come back. Again, very carefully creating this nice little beak texture. I bring this back just a smidge. And then I bring this back just a smidge. Because I can take the two colors here plus the burnt umber that you've got, and I can do this part of this, which is that sort of how the beak goes back. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
There we go. I'm going to get some black on my brush. I didn't even rinse it out. I'm going to come underneath this with the black. Come underneath the beak. See how that's looking in the big screen? Is that looking popped?
Yes, it is.
He needs one more value raise, and then he's there on the beak. I know you're like, wow, that beak was involved. And I'm like, I know. But he's going to be so pretty. Like the squirrel and like some of the other things that we've done, he's going to... this is going to be one of those paintings where I take you a little further into realism. If that makes sense. So I'm just taking the zinc over the top of this. And put a little bit back in the beak. See how that's looking? Right? Rinse, rinse, rinse. Now for the power move. Everything in art, there are power moves in art. I've got just titanium white. It's on the tip of my brush. I'm going to just at the top of the beak, just one small, tiny little line of that bright white. Just so it's like some light hit it hard. Now we're going to give these little feathers the little brown accents if they need them. which we did earlier. We're going to put out, we've got our zinc. We're going to put out our, where did it go? Indian yellow. Where did it go? Oop. So this is actually called Indian yellow because it was made in India with mango leaves.
Mango leaves.
Mm-hmm. So that's interesting to me for some reason. I'm going to take my Indian yellow and a little of my burnt sienna here. Mixing kind of little more Indian yellow to burnt sienna. And you can kind of see, by the way, one thing you might not know is I flip my brush in my hand a lot. And that does impact what it's doing. I've got my zinc here loaded on. It's very transparent. What am I going to do? I'm going to add a couple bits of detail here. Right? You get more pigment if you need it, but just you're adding the bits of detail. And this isn't even the yellow detail you're going to have in just a second. It's these little pin feathers that are barely talked about. And, well, I guess he didn't talk about them. He grew on. But we as artists want to talk about them mildly. We definitely want to add these in. See here, right at the throat, I made a little crush of them. And then maybe right here in the middle of the wing. Pull that down. And you can give just a couple little run of them just right above that part. Come over here. Just a smidge. So here through this area, and I don't know if I should show you a chalk, but here through this area we're going to have a shape of kind of yellow. We've got a bit of green and blue that are going to be coming this way. We have a weird little highlight of blue that if we don't get here, it's not going to look iridescent. So we've got to start getting those in, and we got to figure out how we're going to get those colors in. So my very, very first guess is I'm going to take my Indian yellow and my zinc. Yep. Indian yellow and my zinc, because this is more orange. And if I need to, I might grab even just a smidge, just the tiniest amount of my cad red, or you could do your quinacridone. And I'm going to put my glasses on so that I'm not struggling. You don't want this to be too bright, because if it gets too bright, you're going to lose your ruby throat, and we got to keep our ruby throat. So this is the first pass at what you're doing. Let's see how this goes for me. So I'm going to put a little of this right here. And I'm going to be tapping out kind of like these little feather shapes. I don't know if you guys notice he's got these little feather shapes. And then some of it is brown. So that's what I am contending with. I might need to actually take this into my zincs, guys. More Indian yellow, more zinc. Because the coverage needs to be there. Yeah. It's not yellow enough. CAD can... Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm going to get some of my white out. I'm going to try my little CAD with an Indian yellow here. See if I can get it bright enough. And my titanium white. This saturation, this color is going to be a big deal. You got to get it enough chromatically. And we've got to get the textures. So that's what we're working towards. Is the bright and the texture. Ah, I feel like we found it just now.
I see it.
Sometimes you gotta look, man.
I feel like Ace of Base. I saw the sign.
Did you see the sign? Let's put a little bit of this out here that we can highlight with some green. Right, we know we've got some of these that are going to be here that are going to have some green to them. And they're going to have a slight yellow cast to them. And that's where's it going to go? It's going to come from the fact that you painted it in. We're going to have this little bit down here. Put this in, and you can see how I'm just tapping this and sort of implying the little feather shapes. Dip in my paint here, get my white, just keep going. I've been wanting to do one of these iridescent hummingbirds for a while. I was just like hoping to get a bunch of like really super easy paintings in before.
I just saw a wonderfully beautiful comment that I was going to share with you.
Oh, okay.
Julie just said, "You speak for women and make me feel better as a woman and I feel better as a woman because of you."
Thank you very much.
I thought that was a very nice thing to
Thank
say.
you.
I was
Thank you.
just going to share that because Cinnamon doesn't get to read the chat. Sometimes I scroll by so quickly I don't get to.
No. It can be hard. I am getting both of my yellows. Thank you. Well, we're all in the boat together.
Yep.
All of us.
All of us.
We all have moms.
Boys and girls together in
We
the
are.
same boat.
Yeah, even if an issue doesn't directly necessarily affect us. I mean, we all have moms.
Mm-hmm. And many of us have sisters and daughters.
Mm-hmm. It's important stuff.
Or in some way come in contact with women in our day-to-day lives.
I would hope so. Maybe not.
I know, there are some monks and some priests that,
All right, if you're singing and making beer up in the mountains as a monk, okay, total pass.
I may come visit you though.
Yeah, I'll send John.
Say hello. They'll be like, "Who's this guy with the camera? And why is he over here in our beer?"
That's hard stuff, and it's important.
We departed from the
We did. I'm
hummingbird.
still just tapping out this yellow.
Okay.
It doesn't go fast, but see how I'm kind of implying that feathering. I'm not like trying to do it in hyperrealism. I'm just trying to brick in the texture.
Now, you could use any color here, but the Indian yellow gives you a particular
Oh,
look.
it's just my jam, and it really is in a bunch of paint lines at a various bunch of price points. So Indian yellow is a very warm, very orange, transparent yellow. Now, obviously, we don't have the original color. I bet it was spectacular. But that took a bunch of mango leaves being peed out by sacred cows or something. So they don't do that so much anymore. But it used to be done that way, which is kind of cool. I'm taking the yellow into where I'm going to have some red. And the reason I am, as I dip in my water to make sure I have good flow, is because I'll be coming here and going back with my red, and there's kind of some yellow hinted in it. Now here, you might just dash a few bits of this, and you may even, not everywhere, just a few places, just a few bits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get a little more yellow into it. It'll take a bit to get these. There we go. So we got that little hint there. Now grab your cad yellow, just your cad. In a couple places, I need you to saturate your yellow spots. See what I'm doing? You're going to need to do that. You want to saturate your yellow a few places. Even out here. How are we doing? Do we have some pops of yellow that are just yellow? Oh, yeah. So we have some yellows. Yellow! Now, I'm going to really kind of, I think, work the ruby throat because I'm into it. And I think for me, the first thing I'm going to try my ruby throat is a little of my quinacridone and Indian yellow together. You could use all cad if you want. That is okay. But I want this very vibrant. And I'm going to try to see if my zinc won't work with me here. See how we do. Let's give him a nice little ruby throat. We're the beginnings of one anyways, right?
Mm-hmm.
A little more quinacridone. Indian yellow in there, you can get it. Just saturating up, right? Now you can always come out here to these other little feathers and add a bit of the ruby. Just need to make sure that I've got some right through this center area. A little more into the magenta. You know, you can put a little of this color even on these little crazy feathers that are out here. Now I'm going to rinse out just because I want to have kind of a clean brush to work from so I can pop this. I'm going to take a little of my titanium white into this space and just pick up some of this magenta. It's okay if it picks up some of the orange that we had over here. See how we're doing just on the tip of our brush? How are we doing? Are we doing it?
Really, really good.
He is a tall order, but he is doable. We're going to just pop a little of this ruby here. Don't cover up all your values. Don't cover up all your tones. Let's back up and look at him. Got to look at him a little bit. All right, so are we getting him kind of rubied there? Does he have a ruby throat?
Fire-throated.
Fire-throated.
Fire-throated. Like
fire, fire, fire.
Like a little dragon. You know what? That would be fair and cool.
That would be fair and cool.
I think that if hummingbirds all breathed fire,
that would be fair and cool.
That would be fair and cool. Little tiny fire-breathing, hovering creatures that you would be like, okay, I'll do whatever you say, little fire-breathing thing.
I'm moving my green over. I put some blue over by my green, and I've got my cad yellow and my green together, right? And we're going to make some very bright colors. You see me pulling them out. First, I'm going to get a super light green. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to tap a couple spots where it is. You're going to notice that some of these feathers have some green in them as they're coming down. You don't want to put a ton in. Again, if you're trying to make these iridescent birds, sometimes not overdoing will get you far. And I got to tell you, that's hard for me because I want to overdo. That's what I want to do. Overdo.
No.
Way overdue. I'm keeping this in the bright green.
So I'm going to ask a question, which I think
little feathers back here. Can we see these happening?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, if you look over on the screen behind you, you can see how close we are. Look at those.
Oh, wow. So we're like really on it. So
yeah.
You're seeing where I'm putting this paint.
Yeah, you can really
see
and
how that effect is working together. Right? How are we making this effect work together?
So I've never heard of one of these, but I'm pretty sure you can use it because you can use a stick. Can I use but Connie would like to know if she could use a ridge brush to paint feathers. I don't know what that is.
I think I'm with John. I tend to stay away, if I can, from situations where you have to have a brush to get a technique. There are a myriad of brushes in the craft and decorative painting market that are designed to give effects from grass to feathers. So if you're familiar with the tool and you're comfortable with the tool and you have a lot of resources to help you with that brush, because you can get a rake brush, but if you're not really familiar with those techniques, it's not going to magically give you grass. The brush stroke's in you. That's in your skill set. The brush is just a tool that is an extension of what you have. So there's not really a brush. Like the fan brush is fantastic. It makes a great pine tree, but it doesn't just make the pine tree on its own. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I hope so. All right. I'm going to start getting into these sort of more bluish green colors, right? So I've got my blue here and my green. I might even get a little of my zinc. See that right there? So it's super bright. And I'm going to see what I can tap in here. As I'm tapping this in. Just trying to be super careful and know that he's got lots of colors that it has to think about. Now, one cool thing while you've got this amazing color right here, you can very gently come along these feathers and tap just a little of that blue. Just a cool thing. I highly suggest you go for. And just keep coming here, pulling this down like you do. You know, and you may have to come back. Like you might get a lot of blue and then you're like, man, I really got to come back into my greens or I've got to. So leave room for that. Don't get so out of it that you don't have room to come back. Because when we get the highlights on there, that's where we're going to get our shine. Now I'm going to get into my blue more. I'm not rinsing my brush. I'm just going more blue. Getting my zinc. Just getting deeper blue. So it's just switching to that deeper blue. Put some through here because this would be peeking out in this purple area. But I'm going to kind of leave it so that I know that's here. Are you guys doing good?
Very good.
Get your blue. It's deep blue, little zinc white. See how deep this is?
It's so deep.
It's deep, man. It's a
That's
very
where the fire comes
intellectual
from,
thing.
deep within the chest breath.
I just want to say, everyone who's leaving positive, encouraging comments, I really appreciate it. It means a lot. I love, like, especially, you know, hearing them from John from the live show and then the after show. Because you're kind of here, like, teaching in a kind of a vacuum, right? But can you see how bright this is over his space?
Yeah.
And bring some of this down. Now we've got this wing here. So I know I've got to talk about this a little bit, but I've also got to be concerned about the wing. And I'm just very lightly brushing this up and taking this color. And you can see the brush stroke is making the little feathers. All right, come up here, so I got to get a little zinc on there, make sure that that feather shows up. Maybe these are a little lighter again. Little zinc here, adding a little highlight to them. Trying to keep that very chillaxy.
Super chillaxy.
Super chillaxy. Now we got a nice run of this sort of like aqua blue coming down here that's happening. Quite dark, so we're going to go quite dark. Just a hint of the the zinc. Are we okay?
Your little hat's getting to me. Oh, there it goes.
Ah, should have done a ponytail today.
Oh, you want me to move over?
Nope.
I can scroll the camera.
I'm okay. I'm okay. I just feel silly.
Oh no.
Not in my positioning. Like I'm like, of course you need room for the hat. Like in that way.
Well,
not
you know
like,
what it is?
You did anything wrong kind of way. I'm backing into the green where it's the green and the blue. And I'm getting a little of my zinc like I did before. Green and the blue.
Do you remember back in the Warner Brother commercials, the little chicken hawk who had the little tuft of feather who popped up over his head?
Yeah, I have one of those.
That you got one of those. You just got one little feather that goes, I'm gonna obscure this brush stroke. I'm gonna get in the way.
Look at this wonderful aqua that we've got here. This is why you do zinc, because you can't really quite get that with titanium white. It overpowers the pigment. The zinc, however, is very polite and doesn't. I'm going to come over here with some of this. Maybe a little bit right here at the chest. We can see that some of these feathers, right, have a slightly lighter highlight. Okay. Now, I might wipe off my brush, but not rinse them, and get into my green. And maybe this time get a little Indian yellow instead of cad yellow. Can you see how that's a little bit different? If you only have cad, it's okay. I'm going to get a little zinc. And I'm going to talk about some of this green. It's going to come back into him. It's not quite as bright as this grass green up here, is it? Putting a little bit of green. Let's come here and add some of these. See how we're doing? Could be a little bit right here. Just a smidge on these outer feathers. You can always get darker just by going right into your main green. A little bit of green here coming up, even between this. And then we had a bunch of that here, didn't we? That we've got to add back in. Oh, into my Indian yellow and back into my zinc. Just to talk a little bit about it. Because there's just a touch. Look at the little touches that we're doing. Touch, touch. So here, and he's super colorful, but this base creates this space for his saturation to make sense. There we go. And then we could even say that there's some of these feathers coming down a bit, and then right here in the middle, like it gets a little green again, huh? We got to keep some brown there for the wing. I'm going to get a little of the cad yellow on my brush. Right here, the green got a little bright. I'll talk about that right there. These guys are so fun to paint. Once you understand, you're like, oh, I'm not trying to paint, you know, iridescence, the idea. I'm just painting values and tones, right? I'm going to take a little of my blue and a little of my phthalo green and just smidge the cat into it, right? Just so you can kind of see it. This is much darker, his belly, and I need this green to be darker, so I'm not even going to put any zinc in it. Can you see how it's darker? I need to keep his little belly darker. There we go, keeping it dark. Little dashes. We're nearly done.
Really?
Yeah, he's not too bad. He's pretty close.
Wow.
This was the hard work. The log will go in fast. His eye will go in fast. The reflections will go in fast. And all of a sudden, there'll be a whole bird there. Now, I've got to darken right here, and I've got to add a little run of highlights right there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little of my black, get my brown, and make sure right here I haven't lost that dark shadow. You guys see that? Because it was almost gone, and I need it for him to look like him. Little highlight needs to happen a couple places. So I've got my blue and green, right? I'm going to get my zinc here. It's still blue and green. And just make sure that I've got just this little highlight coming down the belly. You see that little highlight? There we go. Okay, purple. Make sure your water's clean if you're having any trouble with your color. Now my purple is going to be a little bit of my diox and my quinacridone together. And some zinc white. You could use titanium white. It just can be overpowering. And that's the only thing to sort of think about. And I'm going to bring these little purple feathers in amongst his other feathers, like you do, like he would do. So I think probably so he could find a mate.
Neat.
I'm gonna guess. And you know, sometimes I'm like, I absolutely love being married. I just sometimes wish that the men in the human species were as colorful as birds.
You know what?
That'd be
that
so
would be
cool.
really cool.
That's what I'm saying.
There'd be something really neat about that. Like, you know, we did turn out kind of bland.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, like, but we didn't, like, birds definitely won the color contest.
They did. I'm going to put just a touch of some of that up here. Just a touch. Just because I think it's a fantastic color and I kind of want to disperse it around. All right, looking at him, he needs a little lightness on his chest. So we're going to come back through with that bright area. Okay, so we're going to take our white right through here. If you need to, switch it to the titanium. You're just catching the bright, bright color. And really what's happening here is you're just talking about a few of these feathers that are catching this sort of highlight on the chest, but the base color is still underneath there. And so therefore is kind of awesome. Let's see how that looks from a distance. Oh, now we have a little bit of light happening. Now we have a little bit of light happening. So I'm going to get my purple and, interestingly enough, a little of my phthalo blue, a bunch of my zinc white. I'm going to make sure, I'm just making sure that this purple chest is super purple. You guys see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
We got the deep purple. We're just going to make sure that this is super duper purple. So purple. Because diox is a really deep, powerful purple. Isn't it? It just is so purple. Oh, Katie. I'm liking that. He looks so pretty. Now I'm going to get, I might even put out some zinc. You can put out some titanium white. Any of this is good. I just want to create some highlights here and there that are happening. So I'm going to get my zinc, load on my brush, and I'm going to make sure that I catch some little spots of sort of like bright, bright highlights. Right down here, we notice these got this. And the nice thing about the zinc is the white can be, titanium white can be a little overpowering, but this is going to lighten this up quite a lot, even so. We want to make sure that this right here at the neck has got some of this here. Not everywhere. Just touch, touch, touch. A little bit right here. Touch, touch, touch. Definitely on the top here. I'm coming up here and just a couple spots where I'm giving that some highlight. A little bit right here. I'm going to check that with the zinc, and then I'm going to be super brave and come back with some titanium in a couple spots. Let's see how that's going. All right, so that sort of gave him some stuff. I see an area where he could be even brighter right here. So I'm going to come with a little of my green and my cad yellow. I'm going to look at my reference there. I'm going to say right here, I'm going to just get this a little bit stronger. Let's see how that is. Oh, that popped really nicely, didn't it? And then you can put a little of this stronger color right here at the shoulder. Sometimes even my reference, because it's printed with like computer ink, just isn't as wonderful and saturated as other things that I have. So it can help me. I'm taking some of this bright green up here to the neck to look at the picture-in-picture that you guys have in the video, just to see the saturation be bright. See how we're doing right here? We're brightening this up.
Yeah.
That's what we've got to do. You just got to look at your information and, you know, be like, how can I make that more? How can I make that more intense? How can I make that more beautiful? Let's get some white into my phthalo.
It seems a lot of people are really appreciating this Feather Clinic tune-up.
It is, man, isn't it?
This is great. This is really helping with some of that.
I'm going to come back and give some highlights here with this bright blue, because the blue here in the picture-in-picture is super saturated, isn't it? I have to keep looking at the hey, babe, look at I'm looking at the reference. That's what I'm doing. When I'm turning back right now, I'm looking at the reference. My printout isn't very good. it's really dull.
It happens.
No, it's just we have inexpensive inks in our printer. So sometimes what's nice is that I can get a better sense of things from what you've got. All right, I'm feeling actually pretty awesome sauce about this.
I'm digging it.
He's looking pretty good. I might even do some of these brighter blues right up there. Because from before it could have been even brighter.
Oh,
sneaky.
There we go. You're so sneaky.
Yeah. Just a little pop, just a little craziness there. All right, now.
You know,
I'm going to look at him real quick at both places.
I'm excited.
Assess.
See,
always.
I'm really hopeful. Can I ask? We have over 500 Sherpettes here with us right now painting.
I love it.
This little humming dragon, this fire-throated humming dragon.
Right?
I would love to see 500 pictures, over 500, 510, 513, 520, 500. However many of you guys we'd love to see them.
I'm just adding a little bit of my phthalo green with a little bit of zinc white here to the center.
And that's phthalo blue and phthalo white?
No, this one's the phthalo green and a little zinc white right there. I'm just trying to, pop it up.
Did you hear me? I said phthalo white.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know if there is a phthalo white.
There is not a phthalo white, but I'm like, hey, it's all good.
Okay.
I'm going to grab a little of this out. I'm going to get just a smidge, just the smallest amount of Indian yellow. I just don't want it to be bright white. And I'm going to come to the back of the eye. I'm going to add that right there at the back of the eye. Now I'm going to come get some white. And I'm going to just tap a couple of places. That we're doing these little reflections. Just a few places, and you've got to imagine the light beam that's hitting it to create it. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Okay. Let me see, big. Yeah, we're trying to make the shine now.
It is shiny.
That's how we're going to do it. This is our plan. You guys ready?
Shiny.
Don't take away my picture-in-picture.
Oh,
that's
sorry.
That's how I know. Don't take it.
I'm trying to be all polite so that I don't cover you up, and you're like, I need to look at that.
They don't need to see me, and I need to see the reference.
Well, see, now I know. I don't have to turn around when you're doing that.
Well, no, I and then you got to back out for me when I turn around. Look, thank you. All right.
I see what we're doing. I now understand the game.
Do you?
I think so. I wonder if I can get tricky with this game.
Well, I mean, I could leave the studio and go to the back of the room, but it's probably just easier for me to see what we're doing. We're creating this white highlight here, this exaggerated highlight.
Yeah.
Just a couple spots. You want to catch some light on this little guy. All right. Uh-oh. We're getting some shine, aren't we? Where are we getting some shine? On him? Yes, we are. We are getting some shine on him, on his feathers. So you see this bright white? This is where the light is being reflected at you by the shine on those feathers. And that's why it's sort of important to show it. All right, let me look and see where else I need it. I think I have one little spot on the shoulder that I have to do and one little bit on the head. Then I can do the eye and the log. How are we loving our painting?
This is amazing. Totally loving this.
Oh, clumpy. So just a little bit, not a lot, because if you get too much, it's just going to be white glue. See how there just touches? Even up here, even on the top, if you're doing a little bit at the top, like these are a little bit shiny, you're going to want to make sure that you just don't hit it a lot. Otherwise, now he's all shiny. Once he gets an eye, you're going to be like, what? That guy? Yeah, that guy. Definitely going to be back in my glasses for the next bit.
You got to be careful about the shiny humming dragons. They can breathe fire twice as far.
Can they?
Yes.
Okay, I need my fluid white. I think I only have my black white.
Fluid white? Well, you're wireless, so you can disappear off the screen.
Is that cool with you guys? I'll be right back.
She's like, the Sherpa's gone. While she's there, I will.
I'm just over into the
come over
studio.
here pan
looking for
back.
any tube of fluid white I have.
Let you look at that and see. See, that's pretty cool. We can kind of sit them side by
I'm
side.
going to treat myself to this. You guys
Oh,
can do
she's
it with
got
just the white and black you have, but this is just a little treat that I'm going to give myself. Doesn't take a lot. I'm going to get my detail brush.
That was the Wiggle Clean.
That was the Wiggle Clean, and I'm going to paint in the basis of this little dude's eye. So I'm just painting in the eye first with just this black. This particular black, and you could use the black you have, is very shiny and very deep. And when it's the only thing this kind of black on the canvas, it can be a really nice bonus for those deep dark eyes that some animals have. Because it's just pigment and it's just shiny. Even when you varnish it and you unify the whole thing, it's still actually pretty good. Now I'm going to get a little of my, what I don't have out no more, which is my burnt umber. Where did it go? There it is. And my black, I'm going to make a little lid around the eye. Then I'm going to highlight. I'm going to create a nice shine in the eye, and then I'm going to give him a mossy log that he lives on. Pollywog on a bug. I don't want to get content ID. But you know what's great about me is I sing so badly that I've never gotten content ID'd for anything I've seen on the show.
I would be so awesome if we could like do some like collabs with people like as talented as that.
Well, sure.
Some singing awesome polywog.
So I'm mixing my brown and my fluid here. I'm trying to create a warmer gray. This is going to be going around his eye. This is the lid going around his eye. Just a bit lighter than what is happening around him. There's this weird thing that we're going to be doing in a second that's very interesting to create this eye shape. Right? But we got to get his little bird eye in. His little bird eye. Respect that. Which, of course, we all do. All right. Now, I'm going to take this brown, maybe even a little bit of my burnt sienna and a little of my Indian yellow. Grab some zinc to get this brighter color. And come underneath this eye very, very, very carefully, saying that there's teeny tiny little pin feathers. They're kind of starting right here above the corner. And these are just under this lid. Can you see those?
Yeah.
This is going to help shape that. And then you can even get back in your black and brown to go right underneath the little outer lid. Tap that, tap that, tap that. We're going to give an extra little reflection there in a minute, and it's going to pop that whole area. Okay, so go take your gray color that you made your eyeballs with and make just a slightly lighter gray on the tip of your brush. And on the inside, ever so carefully, tap along. You don't want this to be white. It just needs to be a lighter color of the eyelid color.
Patricia asks the eternal question. What size cat tongue should we have?
If you only get one, I really like the number 4.
If you only get one?
I mean, I just don't know. I talked Silver Brush into an 8 and a 4.
But you can get either or both.
You can get either or both. Well, you said if you could only get one, so I was just answering that question.
I'm just being me.
So see how I created the eyelid on his little...
It's so illuminated with the little wet eye stuff.
Now I'm going to take a little of this. Again, I'm not going to have a bright white. I need this sort of grade color, okay? So I've just added the black to it. I don't need a bright white, but it's pretty. It's going to be bright on that eye. And the reason we're not going to go for the whole bright is I'm going to just put in a couple bits of bright. And that'll make it look really, really wet. So I'm going to come here and just very lightly create a reflection. I gave it to you in the traceable. I'm leaving just a smidge of that black. That's him. Of his black eye, like, you know, as it shades in. Because this is a round ball. I'm going to come here. And there we go. Here we are. See how that looks big? It's not bad.
Not bad at all.
It's not done, but it's not bad. Not done, but it's not bad. All right, now I've got my pure white. This is going to be a big deal, right?
Big deal.
I'm going to come along the top of the eye and just tap out an even brighter reflection to it. And you guys see it in what it did. That slight highlight up makes it seem even wetter.
Yep.
Right? So you're like, you've got...
Watch this. I'm going to zoom in and watch as you kind of do this, because this will keep it in focus.
Oh, yeah. As you zoom out, look how real it gets. Yeah, we rock it like that.
Super real.
More real than real, right? All right, let's give ourselves a believable log.
You know what? It's so real. It's fantasy.
It's so real, it's fantasy. We just need to give ourselves a believable log. So let's start with, let's take a little of our burnt umber and our burnt sienna. You can grab a little of your Indian yellow if you need it to warm it up. I'll grab a smidge of my titanium white. And here at this base, I'm going to very carefully, I'm using a number 8's cat sign. You could use a filbert. I'm going to just start talking about some log texture. See how I'm going back and forth? I have a whole quest. I have a whole bunch of info on bark, different types of bark.
Is this like a poodle bark or like a...
This is like a fallen log that's going to be kind of like...
tree bark.
Yeah, this is going to be like rotting. So I'm just trying to make this sort of... Some of this is going to be peeking out. Like I'm just on the edge of the brush. And it is with the dark values and the light values that the bark happens. Bark happens.
Bark happens. That's a bumper sticker.
I'm going to turn this over since I have an easier time with my bark even.
We're going to put that in the Alan Sherpa-ism box. Your soapbox is...
My soapbox of the Alan did. Yeah, that would be cool. I'm going to get a little of my black. And a little of my blue. And a smidge of this white. You can get some brown because I'm trying to make sort of an aged wood color. I'm going to come age some of this a little bit with this gray. See how we're doing?
You've confused our humming dragon.
It's upside
like,
down.
It's like what?
What? All right, here we go. We're just making sure that we've got some of this value because when we come back, we're going to put all this moss and it needs to look like this wood is actively dying. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, wait, what? Okay, just a little bit of this highlight. Now, this wasn't in the picture, but I felt like the picture just didn't give me an environment I was hoping for. See how I'm touching the top of the highlights there? It's just this sort of grayed white highlight, making a different bar. You can do my sponge. If you really, really like, no, I suck at wood, you got to go check out all my sponge techniques for making wood. All right, now take a little of your green and your burnt sienna together. I'm going to get a little of my white here. I think that's my zinc. A little more green. Just different colors. And go ahead and start to put some moss down. Can you see how the moss is here?
Yeah.
Okay. We've got a lot of lichen and moss to talk about, but it's not going to feel like we did unless I'm going to get some white onto my brush, which is the zinc white. Adding some cad yellow for a little highlight. If we don't make it seem like this could actively grow.
Now you can always tell a photo because they push the foreground object so close with the camera lens. So,
and I want this to feel more like you just found this little dude. And you were like, hey, little dude, I think you're so cool. And the little dude was like, I will not fly away because you clearly are not going to eat me.
And clearly he can breathe fire.
And he can breathe fire.
Is not very afraid of little human.
No. Okay. So I just want to say to everyone out there, if you're a producer, if you live in Hollywood, if you're making stuff and you're just painting with me because you need like a way to distress, if you could just get the rights to the book Xanth by Piers Anthony and make that into a movie already, that would really make my week.
We could just
Just
watch.
saying.
No, don't make it a movie. Make it a series that you do that we can watch, and make it really a high budget one done by like, you know, HBO or something. And we got a whole wish list on this. We can tell you like who we want cast and all that stuff.
Yeah, we have feelings. Now I'm going to make some gray mosses and some little fluffy mosses, and I'm going to just keep using my little cat's tongue. So I'm going to get my green and come over to my Indian yellow, and I'm going to grab a little of my white. And I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to make some weird little moss. See these little weird kind of fuzzy things? I'm going to do that. This is my little, oh, I have some mossy stuff. Just right here. If you need to get a little more green on there and a little cad yellow, go ahead and do that. And we're just making some very bright mosses. Mosses. See how my little brush stroke is very irregular? I'm going to bring some of these down into the wood. See how I'm doing? Because they're like little fuzzy bits, aren't they?
Yeah.
So they should be like, they should make a ton of sense. Now, if I get into this brown here and kind of knock back my green, I can, interestingly enough, go into the white that I have and make a very, very, I'm going to have to put some more titanium white, very, very weird, light, greeny, browny, strange color. So
now, you haven't used any iridescent paint yet, have you?
No. No, I was just saying you could. I wasn't going to use any because I'm painting him to be iridescent. I'm not painting him with iridescent.
Sean.
See, he's iridescent because we put reflections on him. That's how we did it.
So I have to say, Sean's very funny.
Oh,
He's
hi,
like,
Sean.
He's like, well, you guys should try that Wheel of Time series.
All right. I added a little.
She's read it. She's read them all.
I just really need Xanth. It's just a feeling that I have, guys. I'm just sorry.
We're book dorks too, so
yeah.
like totally. And we.
I've been waiting, and it just seems like everything's getting made but Xanth.
I would just really appreciate next time they make an envoy.
See how we're making the white moss there?
Yeah, they make them as scary as they're supposed to be.
Yeah, scary. Wait, remember, no spoilers.
I'm not okay. That's not really a spoiler as
much
as
a warning. All right. Now I've just graded this a little bit more. It's not white. I'm trying to make sure that in this, as I'm putting up this kind of lichen, right, that what I'm making sure is that I've got lots of dark values, because if there's not lots of dark values in this, it's not going to feel like it's that kind of lichen. And I felt like, you know, if the whole thing didn't have any wood texture in it, it wouldn't even necessarily feel like very log-like. Right, so which is why we went to the trouble of the wood texture. And you see I'm making these little patterns?
Yeah.
All right. I know this is probably like, man. There we go. So we're right there. We're doing pretty good. Pretty darn good. Gonna get some really white on here. I'm going to just highlight some of this. Not all of it. Some of it so it has some shape, right? Still out of focus, but still has some shape. I'd be like, oh, here's a little bit of it, but the wood's peeking out. And now, I got to get in there with my green, my bright green. And make some little fuzzy, weird, defined bits where we're like, oh yeah, super like it. And then we're good. And that's how we're going to get this little front thing to feel kind of out of focus, but still identifiable. So I'm going to put my yellow with just a smidge of green. And I'll get into my titanium white if I need to. I'm mixing loosely. And maybe just like right here, you're going to take out a little thing. And you can have like a couple little friends over this way coming up through. Wherever you want to put them. Wherever they might be residing.
Wherever they may grow.
Right, wherever they may grow. And you're going to just make some little identifiable little mossy shapes. See how we're tapping those in? If this had a little thing here. There we go, see? Tap that one out, make it feel a little mossy. So it's always that balance of some detail, no detail. I'm going to go over the yellow. I got to make sure he's light enough or dark enough to show, or both. Right, so if I'm here, mix those together. Make sure that he's dark enough to show, or both. Can we see our little mosses coming out? And our weird little log. All right, let's look at it far away and see if we have managed to create a nice little log that a weird little bunch of lichen, and he's just landing there in the forest.
This is pretty awesome.
This is pretty awesome. I think it's time to sign, folks.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think
this was
so.
so amazing. This was probably one of my more fun events to chat with everybody in here, because I have to say, and actually I think chat's going to be attached to the
I haven't figured out, like, it's supposed to be,
soon.
but it hasn't been.
And maybe not, but soon. But guys, chat's so great. If you guys have a chance to come join us in chat, there's all sorts of shenanigans in there. We get to love having you guys here. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, I'm signing, and I did it in a way that you could see it, but it didn't, like, overpower my little guy.
Okay.
How do you like it? We did iridescence in a bird.
This went so fast, and
It
I
did.
was just, it actually, we were here for an hour and 40 minutes.
You know, wildlife takes a little longer.
But I just had so much fun. Thank you,
It
guys.
is a fun painting, and I cannot wait to see all of your hummingbirds. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I want to see you with Easel really soon. Bye-bye.